Before we get started, just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Angela Martinez. I am the project lead and training technical assistance coordinator with the Hawaii Statewide Family Engagement Center. I just wanted to welcome everybody. So we are going to go ahead and get started, folks. As folks are joining us, we will have some great information put in the chat box. Please know that this is going to be a recorded session. So for our friends that are unable to join us today, they can access the recording at any moment. Those who registered will receive the recording and any other handouts and resources our friends from WestEd provide us. So before we start our session and before I introduce our friends from WestEd, I will have Chuan Chin, our project director, go ahead and share a quick poll. We would like to see who's with us today. Okay, all right. So please, folks that are just joining us, we are conducting just a quick poll to see what friends we have here with us today. And they just keep coming on in. Morning, folks. Come on in. Welcome. Please join us for this quick poll. Okay. So I think, Chuan, I think we just have everyone. If you want to end the poll and we can share with our friends who's with us today.
Okay, I'll just give it 10 more seconds, okay?
Okay.
All right, end the poll and share result.
Yes. Okay, it looks like we have some parent and family members with us today. Shout out to them. Aloha to our administrators and teacher educators, service providers, other community stakeholders and other folks listed here. And we have a lot of folks from the different islands. So thank you for joining us today. So without further ado, I would love to introduce our friends. We have our friends here from the academic parent teacher teams, we also call APTT. It is a model of family engagement that is grounded in the notion that schools can thrive when families and teachers work together as genuine partners to maximize student learning inside and outside of school. By implementing APTT, schools take responsibility for engaging in a collaborative process to build strong relationships with families, and teachers equip and support families to make concrete contributions to student growth and achievement. Participants will walk away today with a sound understanding of the components and essential elements of the APTT model and how it works in schools, the roles and responsibilities of families and educators and homeschool partnerships, and the training and support that WestEd offers to help you bring it all together. And today we have Dr. Maria C. Paredes. Dr. Paredes is a senior engagement manager at WestEd with a focus on family engagement. Paredes works collaboratively with school districts and state agencies to help build readiness and capacity for implementation of the academic parent-teacher teams model of family engagement. For 25 years, Dr. Paredes has been a teacher, district administrator, researcher, and parent educator focused on transforming the way families participate as partners in education. The APTT model she developed in 2009 has provided a system and open doors for parents and teachers to work as a team to impact student learning and achievement. Dr. Paredes has dedicated her life work to increasing equity in education and improve opportunities for students and families in underserved communities. The APTT model is currently being used in 26 states and over 1,500 schools across the US, offering systemic solutions and empowering educators and families to work hand in hand to improve academic outcomes for students. And we also have here Annabelle Lee. Annabelle Lee is a family engagement facilitator for the academic parent-teacher teams at WestEd. She provides on-site and virtual family engagement support through professional development and coaching. She works collaboratively with schools, districts, and states to support teachers and leaders in implementing effective family engagement practices that lead to equitable outcomes for students. She currently works with schools to implement the APTT model in California, Pennsylvania, Oregon, and Washington. She has previously worked with teachers and leaders on developing reading and math curriculum, designing assessments, and conducting instructional rounds. Prior to WestEd, Lee was an elementary school principal, EL resource teacher, and classroom teacher. And also here with us today from the APTT WestEd team, Sara Martinez. Sara Martinez is a part of the academic parent-teacher team at WestEd. As a family engagement facilitator, her focus is to collaborate with districts and schools to improve home and school partnerships in undeserved communities by developing the capacity of educators and families to work together. She provides districts and schools with her expertise and experience in the area of effective family engagement and school improvement, with a focus on English learners. Martinez provides training, technical assistance, and coaching focused on building the capacity of school districts and schools to effectively engage families in a collaborative process as a true partners in academic success. Prior to joining WestEd, Ms. Martinez served as a bilingual elementary school teacher, where her peers selected her in 2000-2001 Teacher of the Year. Ms. Martinez also served as an English learner, district specialist, and English learner coordinator. Well, welcome to our friends from the WestEd APTT team. I'm going to actually turn it over to them so that they can share the wonderful opportunities that their program provides.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I am going to share my slide right now. Okay. So, wow, thank you so much for that great introduction. Before we get started, we just want you to tell us a little bit about yourself. So in the chat, if you can type your name, your role, district, school, organization, and then tell us, what is your favorite local food that everyone should try? Okay, so go ahead and type it in the chat. Wow, I see some really good here. Lisa, welcome. Principal. Loco Moco. Wow, that sounds interesting. Kat from, wow, Complex Academic Officer. Oh, these are moving up fast. DOE Shave Ice. Wow. Cheryl. If I missed you, this is going really fast here. So you guys, KMR Complex, Butter Mochi. I can never say that correctly. How do you guys say it?
Butter mochi. Yeah.
Butter mochi.
Butter mochi.
I don't know why, but in my head, I want to say mochi. Right? And then I see Casey. Did I say it correctly? Casey? Let's see. Oh, you'll be making some soon. Nice. Carrie. Oh, you know, I can pronounce some of these names here, so I'm not going to try it and I'll probably destroy it. So I see really good stuff here. They're going really fast. So take a look at the chat, you guys. Laura, welcome. Cheryl, welcome. Garlic. I can't say that. Furi kaki chicken. That sounds really good. Oh, thank you, you guys. All right. So if you have not had the opportunity to share with us your name, your role, and maybe some place that's really good to eat, go ahead and put that in the chat. Okay. And we are going to keep going here. So thank you, everyone, for doing this with us. I am going to go to the next slide here. And Welcome to Academic Parent Teacher Teams, APTT. We are so excited that you are here to learn more about APTT. In the chat, tell us if you've heard about APTT or have you seen it somewhere. If you have, type in yes in the chat. If you've seen it on YouTube, you've heard it through somebody. Oh, Kathleen says yes. Let us know. Have you heard of Academic Parent Teacher Teams? Type yes in the chat. Yes, I have another yes. Yes. All right. Thank you so much. That's very helpful to kind of get to know our audience, right? And before we get started. I see a lot more yeses. Yay. Through Dr. Karen Mapp's work. Oh, nice, Carol. Nice. Okay, well, I'm not going to introduce us already because we got a really good introduction already. So here's our team with you today. Dr. Maria Paredes is here, and she will be sharing a little bit towards the end, and we'll do the Q&A. Sara and I will be the lead facilitator throughout. And so if you guys have any questions as we are going through this presentation, just please type in the chat, and we will be monitoring the chat and we will answer the questions as we go along. But also know that we do have a Q&A session at the end. So what is Academic Parent Teacher Teams? And you heard a little bit about that, so I'm not going to repeat what you heard. I just want to remind everyone that it is based, it's grounded in research and evidence. And what APT really is about is that it's about bringing everything together that is part of the school community and our family community and our community at large. And what I mean by that is it's bringing people together to communicate and collaborate so that we're all working together to support student learning. And when teachers implement APTT, they are really looking at how do we work together, how do we bring what we are doing together and not work in silos. So we align the grade level learning concepts, we align them with the data that we have, and we provide families with the strategies and the materials that they need in order to then support their child's learning away from school. So that is kind of in a nutshell that I want you to kind of just keep in the back of your mind, because we are going to take you through APT a little bit more so you can see what it's all about. Okay, so if any questions, just put it in the chat. Okay, so where is APTT right now? Like, where have we been and where are we now? So as you can see here, all the purple areas is where APTT has been. We've worked with over 2,000 schools in 26 states. You know, we have successfully implemented APTT by really working with the community that we are in. Everywhere we go, it's unique. The population is unique, right? We are in schools, we're in districts, we work with states, we're in urban areas, suburban, we're out in the rural districts. I mean, sometimes we got to fly in little planes to get out there, right? So we are in different places. We serve students with different ethnic, racial, and social economic backgrounds. So you can see we're kind of like all over, right? And we're hopefully, right, we would love to highlight Hawaii one day soon. Okay, so let's do a picture of where we are. Okay.
Thanks, Annabelle. So Annabelle was able to share, you know, where are we and a little overview of what APTT is. But today we wanted to share with you our APTT implementation model. And our model really was designed to help schools implement APTT effectively and really consistently. And that's, one of the highlights of APTT is that consistency throughout. So when we look at this graphic, one of the first things that we always do is we start with professional development. And our professional development is delivered directly to the schools, and it usually happens during the summer or sometime before the start of the school year. And it's delivered by one of us, one of your APTT coaches. And once that initial professional development is completed, schools are really ready to start implementing APTT. And you can see here that implementation has really two sets of activities. The first set of activities involves what we say are the core components of implementation, which occurs during each of the team meetings. And it's also part of WestEd's ongoing coaching. The second set of activities involves the support activities that happen between each of these events and is really conducted and supported by the school leadership team. These activities really help to grow and sustain the APTT practice within each of our schools. And so we wanted to share this kind of visual representation of APTT activities and the supports that happen during a year of implementation. So what I'm going to do next is I'm really going to go into deeper what each of these activities are in detail. And so as I just mentioned, APTT implementation always begins with initial professional development. And it's just we can't stress enough how essential it is for all staff to really participate in professional development with us so that they feel confident to be able to speak about and carry out the responsibilities and activities related to APTT implementation. So like I mentioned earlier, professional development really occurs before the APTT initiative starts at a school site. And we also recommend to provide an annual session for any new staff to the school or any grade level or teacher that is new to APTT implementation. So that way it continues to build. And because APTT is kind of a unique approach to family engagement, APTT implementation it's a shift for schools and teachers and support staff who plan and lead this work. So that's why, we can't say enough about the importance of that professional development session, because teachers really need to feel comfortable and confident facilitating their APTT meetings. And so part of our APTT professional development is not only learning about our model, but also it's a way for teachers to see, their own core beliefs about families and teachers' ability, families' ability and willingness to develop those close connections with their teachers, and for teachers to be able to build that trusting relationship with their families, because truly that's the key to success for APTT and, of course, for family engagement in general. So the last thing that I'll add about professional development in this training is that for a lot of our schools, for a lot of our staff, this is the first time that they really have an opportunity to learn about family engagement and what it means. And that's why we say that it's so important that when we can get as many people from the school to be involved in that initial training, it really sets up the school for success. So I just wanted to take a pause here and check in, Maria. I know you were monitoring the chat. If there's anything that we need to address before I go into our next slide, which is really the implementation model, the APTT meetings.
We're good to go.
Great. So during our initial professional development, schools learn and they actually participate in an APT team meeting. And from the yeses that we got earlier, I can see that some of you have heard of APT, and some of you maybe have even attended an APT team meeting. But some of you are probably thinking like, Sarah, just tell us, what is an APT team meeting, right? What is it? So an APT team meeting occurs 3 times a year, and each teacher individually hosts and facilitates a 75-minute team meeting. And that team meeting includes the students' families and the teacher within the classroom. These team meetings really give families an opportunity to learn and contribute to a very collaborative environment where families are provided grade level information and home practice activities in order to be able to support their child at home. So in that 75-minute meeting, we have 6 essential elements. And that's what you're seeing on your screen right now. And these elements really serve to guide and deliver the content for our families. So an APT team meeting always starts with a team building activity, and that's to really build the community. It builds relationships and trust with our families. Then there's a short lesson on a grade level foundational skill, and the teacher shares why that skill is important. Then after that, the teacher then shares and discusses student progress data. The teacher models the practice home learning activity. And then one of our favorite parts is that then families get to practice. They have the opportunity really to practice that home activity. And then at the end of the meeting always ends with families setting a SMART learning goal based on where their child is at on that particular skill and where they hope their child will be by the next APT team meeting. And the reason we have these essential elements is that we want to make sure that teachers provide information that is clear and in a format that's appropriate for families. There's an order. And so that's why we have these essential elements. One of the things I wanted to add in the chat was part of APTT you see there in number 3 is sharing data with families. Share in the chat about your experience in sharing student progress data with families. We want to hear about other opportunities that schools have had or districts in sharing student progress data with families.
While folks are putting that information in, I wanted to say too that one of the big pieces of the professional development is that we want to help teachers feel comfortable facilitating. In other words, making the meetings about the families, ideas and experiences, and having the voice of the family be the centerpiece. So it doesn't feel like they're going to something that is about the teacher, but instead is about the team, about everyone's ideas and opinions and experiences and needs and strengths and so on and so forth. And of course, to help everyone come together as a team. So professional development focuses a lot on that ability of teachers to facilitate adult learning meetings, which is sometimes different than teaching youth, right?
So we haven't had anyone, I don't think, in the chat share about ways that you might be sharing student progress data with families. And that could just be like you're trying to think of something. But we know that with APTT, it really provides the opportunity for teachers to share that progress data with their families, but not only share data, but then also give them an opportunity to learn how they can support so students can grow. And so like Maria was saying about the purpose of the professional development, it also ties really into the purpose of our APTT meetings and these essential elements. And part of that is for the teacher to feel comfortable, to know that there's a system and a process in place to support them. It provides teachers a time and a space for them to work together with their families. Teachers are able to really explain and share with families the expectations for student learning, It allows families to receive information, tools, and strategies to support what is happening in the classroom, and so they can support that at home. We really also see that with APTT, it's really a culture of collaboration. It's a culture of teamwork, of always coming together as a team, really focusing on student learning priorities. So the APTT model really is an opportunity for teachers to meet with families as a whole group, as a team. But one of the things that we also have is an opportunity for families and teachers to meet one-on-one. And next, I'm going to share with you the model for our individual sessions. So here's our individual sessions. And you just saw that with our APTT model, there are 6 essential elements that happen during an APTT meeting. And our individual sessions have 3 elements to it. An APTT individual session usually occurs at least once a year. Sometimes we find that with some of our teachers meet with families individually more often, depending on the student's need, but we do recommend at least once a year to meet one-on-one. And this is when the teacher would hold the 30-minute individual session, and we recommend that the student and the student's family attend that session. This session provides individualized personal support, and we recommend spending about 10 minutes on each of these essential elements. These sessions really offer an opportunity for families and teachers to deepen their relationship as partners. That's the first thing that happens. Then discuss the student's progress, not just at school, but how are things going at home? And then work together collaboratively to create a course of action to support students' growth and improvement. And so that's what really happens during that individual session. Now that we've kind of gone over, what is APTT and how it works, next, what we want to do is share a video with you from one of our schools in Las Vegas, Nevada. And this school created this video so all their families would really know and understand APTT. And the school really wanted to emphasize that everyone could come together as a school community and work on a common goal. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and you should be, if everything goes well, you'll be able to see it and hear it. Yes.
Parental and family engagement has always been a challenge at Myrtle Tate. In the past, we've done different things like make and takes, parent meetings, fun fall festivals, but what we really wanted to make sure that we did is focus on student achievement. So this year, we started doing academic parent-teacher teams, APTT, as supported by WestEd. The goal of APTT is to make sure that parents engage with each other and with the teacher with a definite goal in mind, increasing their students' reading and math scores. Parents are invited to come in, getting personal phone calls from the teacher, and invited to come in to spend about an hour and a half in their child's classroom.
The reason why I came to the APPT, just from receiving the papers at home, honestly, that wasn't enough to, get me to come. But the teacher's telling my daughter that the meeting was going to be what day and all that stuff. It kind of pushed my daughter a little bit for me to come in, but her telling me, "Come on, mom, you have to go. Come on, mom, you have to go." And it's like, you know what? She's asking me, this is important for her, and it should be important to me too.
I had almost 3/4 of my parents come in extremely eager to learn about how their students are doing and what they can do to help, which is something that enlightened me, and something I didn't realize is how engaged they want to be in their children's education. And it's not really just on me, and that we can all work together as a team now.
They start by doing an icebreaker so parents can get to know each other. Then they look at some goals. They actually look at their student data to see exactly how their child is performing. Then the teacher explains to them what they are working on. For example, right now we just did comprehension and fluency. So the teacher took time to explain what fluency was, what comprehension is, and how those things are related. Then the teacher gives the parents 2 or 3 games to play at home to improve their fluency or comprehension. The parents actually get time to play with each other so that they can get to know what their children are doing in school. And before they leave, they take all that knowledge and they set a SMART goal. They decide how much they think their child can grow based on what they learned and commit to doing those things every night until the next APTT.
Having our community be in the Spanish language mostly, a lot of times they don't feel that they can come to school because they probably don't know the English language or they don't know what their students are learning at school. And being able to translate that for them was a great experience because now they know, okay, I can come to my child's school and I can tell them and help them at home and I can do all these other things with them, like the activities they learned here at APTT. And it's just a better relationship overall.
Appt me ayudó bastante para la comunicación con el maestro y con los compañeros, los papás de los compañeros de mi niño. Aparte, mi idioma principal es el español, entonces tenemos mucha ayuda en Middle State porque tenemos una muy buena traductora que nos traduce todo, entonces conocemos ideas de cómo los papás trabajan con cada hijo y podemos implementar nosotros en nuestros hijos la misma idea para que ellos puedan sobresalir un poco más, para que puedan leer, para el gusto de la matemática, de la lectura, que les guste venir a la escuela.
It's not just the teacher or just the student or just the parents. And as we work together, we can actually get the growth and the academic achievement that we're looking for. Whereas if we all try to do it alone, then it's never going to work.
Great, thank you. So what resonated as you watched that video? Use the chat and kind of share what were some of the things that resonated with you as you watched that video. And Maria is there monitoring the chat. She'll be sharing with us some of the things that you noticed in that video.
I noticed there are no children in the meeting, except for the babies. Families are smiling. Families look like equal participants. Willingness. The parents weren't just sitting down all the time. They got up and took part in activities. Parents felt welcome at the school, and a translator was on hand to promote communication and understanding.
Yeah, right. I love how, you know, parents felt welcomed. They weren't just sitting down, right, receiving information. Right, they were able to, you know, walk around, like Maria had said, you know, it wasn't just, you know, with the children and the parents. It was just really focused for the families, and that's, you know, that's done on purpose because we really want families to share with each other, you know, to know that they're in this together. Sometimes as parents, we feel like, you know, maybe it's just our child going through some things. But when we get families together, we realize we're not alone, right? We can really work together. And I think that's, you know, one of the things that's really special about when we get our families together. So thank you so much. Now what we're going to kind of shift a little bit is you're probably wondering, like, okay, now that I know Sara, I know a little bit more about APTT, how the model works. I got to see a little bit from it. but you're thinking, how can we do this? How can we, do all this? But don't worry, Annabelle's going to share with you the support schools receive when they partner with us. And I am going to, we're having a little bit technical difficulty, so I'm going to share my screen and we'll hope that it works. Let's see. Annabelle, are you able to see that?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Sarah. My screen is having some trouble with my laptop, actually. So, okay. So you're wondering, oh my gosh, wow, that team meeting, parents are engaged, right? They're talking to each other. It looks like they're having fun, right? If you're thinking, wow, this is different than a meeting I've attended where parents are just quiet and they're sitting there and just receiving the information, right? This is really like teamwork, right? And families really have a voice in these meetings, right? They get to share their thoughts and they actually, it's all about families believing that families have ideas and experience and knowledge, and they bring this to the table, right? So how do we create this team environment? How does this happen? Well, I'll tell you right now, I'll be really honest with you. It cannot happen alone. It cannot just be on the shoulders of the teacher. This all happens with everybody working together. And how do we do this? Well, the schools who implement APTT gets their own WestEd APTT coach, right? And that coach is like your best buddy. Best buddy. That's how I say it. Because when we go out there, we don't let you do this alone the first year. You don't do this alone. We hold your hand. We're there with you. That's why there's this teacher planning. We plan with you, right? We meet with you for, and depending on how much time we have, it can be from 1.5 to 2 hours, and we get you almost completed with your planning. There's a lot of things that have to happen when we leave, but we get you ready, and there's only a few things that you have to do after we leave, okay? So teachers are not alone. We walk them through this. We will even help teachers. I know that I have done this, and I know my colleagues have helped prepare these activities, like come up with the ideas and help teachers really get a better understanding of what we mean by grade level foundational skills and making sure that the data aligns, right, with what they're talking about and that the activities align, right? So the teacher planning involves everyone. The teachers involves our administrators, because we cannot do this work without the administrators. Okay, administrators are part of the teacher planning, because in the first year, administrators, you got to know what it is that their teachers are doing, right? We're building your capacity as well, right? This is all about capacity building. And then we also have another person which we deemed as the APTT champion at the school, right? And that person comes with experience in curriculum, right? And they're not a classroom teacher. So most of the time they're kind of like a coach, an instructional coach, or someone who can help support teachers when we're not there. And they are also part of the planning session. So we have each cycle, each team meeting before the teachers have their actual meeting with the families, they have time for planning. And then there's the meeting. Before the meeting, actually, we also have what's called leadership support. Right. So after teacher planning, we meet with the leadership team, the APTT leadership team, which involves the principal, the APTT champion, and anyone else that's on that team. And we talk about, okay, what was accomplished? What else do teachers need so they can be successful, right, in getting this off and running and getting ready for the first APTT meeting. Okay. And then we also talk about all the logistics. What are we going to do? Right? What do schools need to do to get ready, like on that night or that afternoon or that morning? Do you need childcare? Do you need interpreters? Right? What are all the logistics? What are the things that's going to happen that you, the person behind the scene, what do you need to do and think about? And then the event, the meeting happens, right? The meeting is held in each teacher's classroom. So the families, they all come together as a team. And it's a 75-minute. And the reason why it's 75 minutes, you guys, is because it takes that long, right? If you are part of a meeting where you are allowed to speak and share and collaborate, it takes that long. I have not been able to sit through a meeting that didn't go that long when parents are talking. Because parents, when they know, wow, this is different. I'm actually able to voice my thoughts. I can ask questions. I can share ideas. It goes, and it's a wonderful feeling because it doesn't feel like a meeting. It truly feels like collaboration. So during the observation in the first couple of years, we asked that the principal and the APTT champion and anyone who is a part of that leadership team, they observe the meetings with us, because we have to calibrate what we're seeing, right? Because the whole idea here is that we want to build the capacity of the leadership team to be able to give feedback to their teachers so that the teachers get better and better at facilitating an APTT meeting, right? I'm talking facilitation. I'm not talking like what I'm doing right now, being a speaker, a sage on the stage. That's not what an APTT meeting is. An APTT meeting really truly is that the teacher becomes this facilitator and goes around and helps and provides the opportunities for families to talk, right? And that's an art, right? And that takes training, and that takes feedback. Somebody watching me and giving me feedback so I get better and better at this, right? And I want to tell you, principals out there and teachers out there, that there are those who just have that natural ability. And you probably know who they are. So after the observations are done, after the meetings are done, the WestEd coach will meet with the principal and the champion, and they will have a debrief session. And they will talk about what did we see, what did we observe, what went really well in the meeting. And we always look for evidence, right? And then what can we do better? What didn't feel so right? What could have been better when maybe sharing the data or playing the games? So all these things, we are doing this so that schools get better and better. And by APTT number 3, oh my goodness, what a huge change, right? Schools are able to do this, and we're not holding their hand as much because they get it. It's a cycle. This happens 3 times. Okay, so that's the support that you get from your APTT coach. Okay. Any questions? I don't see anything in the chat. Okay. Right. So now I kind of want to go into a little bit about how will APTT help your school, right? You're thinking, okay, this is all great. I know what it is. I get the support and everything. How will it help your school? Well, these are things that we have found out in the field. Okay, so here's the first one, which is the most important one, right? And I believe this is about me working out of my job, like, right? Eventually, wow, everyone knows APTT and I have no more job, right? It's truly building your capacity to do this work. Family engagement, engaging families is not a simple thing. If it was, we would have been doing this a long time ago, right? We would be experts in this area, but we're not. It's because we need to build our capacity. We need to understand what it is that we're doing, okay? So it's truly about building the capacity of educators and families to work together so that we improve student outcomes. The next thing that will help, that APTT will do to help your school is, here it comes right here, is that we are all about being strategic, right? And we are not, APTT is not one more thing that we are asking you to put on the teacher's plate. It's not one more thing that we have to do that it's separated from everything else that we're doing right now. So we have a school improvement plan and APTT is out here. No, that is not us at all. We are all about taking a look at what is it that the school wants to improve? What's in your school improvement goal? And how does APTT support that? Right? So I'll give you an example, because we work with schools where, you know what, it might be math is one of their goals that they need to improve, right? And let's just say in 3rd grade. Well, you know what? APTT comes in, it's about getting families to understand, looking at the data, and then we're working with families on those math goals that students are struggling in. So that families are supporting, right? Everybody is helping the kids, and so that goal is met. Okay, so we're being strategic about this. The next thing is that we want to, if you heard Karen Mapp, if you read anything out there right now in the research of family engagement, the biggest thing, you guys, about getting our families to be partners with us and collaboration is trust. But we can't get to trust without building relationships. And if you recall those 6 essential elements in an APTT meeting, The very first one is about building relationship. It's the welcome, it's the icebreaker or team builder. We start off the meeting always building relationships with our families. We get to know them, they get to know us. And I always tell teachers this, hey, your families know that you're a teacher already. So when you share something about yourself, don't talk about your classroom, talk about yourself. Present yourself in a way that families can connect with you as a person, right? So trust is huge. And the last thing about this is that as you implement APTT, it really does exceed the expectations from your state and federal programs. And just listen, if you heard everything that we talked about, if you just from the video, share in the chat, what do you see that already it exceeds? What do you notice that exceeds the expectation? I can name one thing right now that I see where I go. You know the compact letters, the family compacts, where families read in, they just sign it, and then it gets put away. What does that even mean? What are families signing for, right? So it is asking families, when families come to an APT team meeting, it's asking them to be a partner, to collaborate, to write a goal, right? To actually do something that's going to improve and help their child's learning. So that's what APT will do for your school. Questions, thoughts?
I also wanted to add that for middle school and high school, social emotional skills and soft skills, job readiness skills, all of those kinds of things can be incorporated as your foundational skills. So it really depends on the grade level. In some of the middle school grades, they really focus on high school readiness. So those are some of the things that families can be working on alongside the school. So it doesn't always have to be examples from elementary school, but there is many schools are using APTT to work on soft skills, life skills with families. So that kids are not just learning and practicing something just in the school, and then the other half of their year, it's not being supported. So this helps both the school, the parents, the teachers, all sort of speak the same language and support the same initiatives that are important and that are a focus in the school.
Sara just reminded me, and she put the question in the chat, how could APTT help improve your connections with families? Let's think about what we've shared so far and jot down your thoughts for us. Kathleen put teachers working outside of teaching hours. Teacher union in Hawaii does not require this. Even parent-teacher conferences are usually during school hours. This is a barrier for many of our families. Should a school offer this with those teachers willing or try to get full staff commitment? Wow, wonderful question. Yes. You know what we believe in? This is about people. Okay, so this is not about a curriculum or these kind of things, right? This is about working with people. So if a school wants to do this, you have to buy it. You got to have people who want to do this, right? Because if you get a school who's not willing, who doesn't want to do it, or doesn't see this as important, or maybe there are things that prevent it from happening, there's negative impact to your families. So it's so important that everyone from the top to the classroom to our families understand what they're getting themselves into, and they want to do this.
I was going to also say, Annabelle, that one of the most important things is to work on your school readiness, right? Spend some time talking, orienting your teachers, having these conversations, and then look at, by contract, are there 1 or 2 or 3 evenings that teachers are expected to work beyond the school day over the course of the school year? Sometimes if you have per Title I, if you have literacy night and math night and those kinds of things, this is the same thing. In other words, you don't have to do both. You should consider doing, for example, your Title I meeting at the same time as you do the APTT meeting. So you don't have to do two things. Or again, I think it's embedding the requirements that you have, the priorities that you have in terms of student learning goals, and a way to share that with families and work together on meeting those goals and requirements. So I think what happens in most schools is that they actually do a lot less over the course of the school year if they pick up APTT, because we help them prioritize from what they normally do in a non-COVID-19 year. And then look and see what is truly connected to student learning, what's truly connected to developing relationships and trust with families. And if there are events that are not focused on those things, maybe putting a pause on that and really reducing the number of events and activities that families are invited to do, and just focus on one quarterly meeting with families that has a lot of academic depth, where families really truly walk away prepared to support learning. So I think it's how you look at it and how you work together with the union to work this out. I think it should be a really open process. If you have 3 grade levels that would love to do it, you should start with 3 grade levels and then keep adding them as the other grade levels learn more and look at the evidence at the end of the year.
Yeah, I just want to also add that, remember, this should not be just a classroom teacher or a school. Remember, this is a district, right? You're looking at big picture here, and that we involve everybody, all the stakeholders, and the unions are a stakeholder. That group is a stakeholder. So they should be at the table so they understand what this is. How does this help actually enrich Hawaii, right? Build a collaboration between teachers and families. So I think that, I've worked in districts where, yeah, there's a strong union, and we've done in those schools, we've brought in the union. The union is at the table. There's a discussion. What is it? And then what happens is, because we really want to do this, I'm talking we as in the teachers and the principals, and that they find ways. There's always a way. They find a way. And we're always thinking about our families, right? If we're holding these meetings and we want our families there, we're also thinking about they also need to be at the table. How do we do this so we get our families there? There are many different ways. And COVID actually has helped us actually to think harder in order to reach out to more families, right? Thank you so much for the questions. I think those are so great. But how do you know that you're ready for APT though? Which going down this road about, wow, what if we can't? Let's just think about, how do you know that you're ready? So we do have APT readiness checkoff list, but here are some of the factors. First of all, the school leader has to be on board. So the school leader is the driver, right? They have to understand APTT and that they can explain this to their staff and that they're ready to take charge and lead this. And when I say take charge and lead this, I don't mean take this on and then give it to somebody else to do, right? This is one of those things where leaders, I've been a principal, so I totally get this. We're super, super busy. And then we want to kind of delegate some of their stuff. This isn't one of those things that you want to delegate. This is one of those things where in the first year, you really want to be front and center, okay? The other thing is that you got to get the support of your teachers and staff, right? At least a small group who wants to do it and be the pilot and so they can show it, right? Everywhere we go, there's always what I call the group that's those who are like, hey, this sounds really good. I want to try it. I know we have those. right? So maybe start small, like Maria said, okay? And then the other thing is that schools need to look at their calendar as at the beginning of the school year and think about when can we hold our professional development, because teachers need training on this, right? It's not something that you can just read and say, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'll tell you out there, there's a lot of APTT materials out there. You could pick it up and read it. But you know what? Implementation of APTT without training, it's not the same. And we've heard that from school. We actually get schools who call us and say, hey, we tried this. We went to a seminar, heard about APTT and tried to put it into action and it didn't go so well. Can you come out here and help us? Okay, so teachers need training and we have to set aside time for that. And then the other thing is that time for planning and outreach with families, because as you know, when you do something new, and this is new for families too, you think it's new for teachers, think about your families. They're so used to the traditional parent conferences. I come in, I sit down, I listen to the teacher and I go and it's like 5-10 minutes, I'm done. All of a sudden now I'm in a 75-minute meeting, you're asking me to talk and share and collaborate. Whoa, wait a second, right? This is new. So this takes time. And so time for planning, time to reach out to our families is important. And the last thing is funds, right? Nothing's ever really free, you guys. We all know that. So where do we find the funds to that we can set aside for the family practice activities? Because families come to the meeting and they walk away with something tangible to take home and do immediately with their kids, right? And then you also have logistics such as interpreters and childcare and whatever you want to do for families, that's going to cost money. So we have to set some funds aside for that. Okay, so just some things to think about. But we talked a lot about this, and one of the final things I just want to bring up with you is that we do have, there has been studies that was done with APT, and what we have found, these are some of the key findings from independent evaluators, okay, is that when APT is implemented, there is a strong parent and teacher connection. Even if you didn't read about this, just hearing that building trust relationship, this is already at the forefront, right? It's going to happen because it's there. The other thing is that you're increasing the family's confidence, right? To understand what these skills are that their children is learning in school and how to support that learning at home. So families are more confident to do this. And families are informed and feel supported by the school, right? And finally, this is the ultimate goal. This is why we're doing all this. This is why we're all doing this, is that student performance, right? The academics, the attendance, the behavior improves. That's what we found. Well, that's what the independent evaluators have found. Okay. All right, now, so we're going to open up the floor to any questions you may have for us.
You can unmute yourself and just ask questions. I think that this is when we all get to just hear and experience each other. We have a little time to any wonderings, any thoughts.
I was just monitoring the chat box, so just wanted to check in with you folks. There were a few questions. Gina Nakahara, she asked, curious what the fluency and comprehension family activities looked like. So I'm not sure if it spoke a little bit about that, but that was one question. I have about 3 that I saw. Any thoughts?
So we're talking about what does it look like when we're talking about fluency, right, and comprehension?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what we always tell teachers is we're looking at the data, and comprehension is broad, right? When we work with families, we have to get down to the actual skill itself. And a lot of the time what we find is foundational skills. So what we may find is, let's just say in 3rd grade, right, they may be struggling with decoding. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're working on first, right? And then it might be, hey, it's main idea and details, right? Being able to read something and look for the details in the text to determine what that main idea is all about. So we actually help teachers take a look at the comprehensive test and drill down to truly what is the issue, and then align the activity so that it supports that skill.
Thank you.
Helpful?
Kathleen has a question.
Exactly. Thanks, Dr. Paredes.
Yes, thank you. So I was the one that was commenting about the barriers that our
Mhm.
working hours bring. So I have a question about this year and this work that you've done with other schools and on the continent. How have you switched over to anything, if you have, virtual in the midst of COVID? We've yet to invite any families back on campus, and I'm not sure that we'll actually be there by fall. So I'm just trying to think of timelines and everything. And also, when we think about like what we've learned from COVID and going forth, there are more opportunities to concurrently teach or concurrently offer family engagement, for example. Do you have any models or any thinking around people who couldn't be there because we can't do it in the evening, or other barriers they're facing to being there, that it might also be a virtual experience? What have you all done around that?
A lot. I was waiting for Sara and Annabelle to.
No, I'm waiting for like somebody to speak. I was like, you know what? We've had to make a lot of changes because of COVID. Because as you know, our meetings have always just been in person because that's the greatest way to form relationships. And so during the COVID time, we switched over to a virtual meeting, right? And we still have the icebreaker, right? It's also about building relationship. The model doesn't change just because we're doing a virtual meeting now, right? Some things might change a little bit because it's harder to actually families practicing together. That's not going to happen because we're not together. But the thoughtful questions and getting feedback and, getting families' ideas on things, that all is still happening. So, and it's really up to the teachers too. I've been in meetings where teachers that have decided, no, I want the families to practice the activities right now with their child so we can find out what's not working, right? And so and it's totally okay, right? I know that in some other schools, how they have done this in order to meet the needs of all their families too, is sometimes the meetings are recorded or how the games are modeled. So the teacher will always model how to play the game, right? We tell teachers, don't assume that your families know how to play this simple game of tic-tac-toe, because they might not even know what a tic-tac-toe is, right? So the teachers model this. And sometimes what teachers will do is they will record and then just play the recording during the meeting. And what they do is they post the recording on their website or or a link, right? And then families who miss the meeting, they can watch the meeting or they can go directly to that video of the game because they'll get all the materials and they can watch it, right? The most important thing I tell teachers is you got to follow up though. You can't just say, hey, here's your stuff and go for it. One thing's about building relationship and one of the things that parents don't expect. So when you do it, it's so much more impactful in building relationship is you follow up, right? Teachers actually that's why it's so important to set time give teachers the time to make those connections with families. Hey, I missed you at the meeting. I hope you got the video and you saw this. If you have any questions, connect back with me. Just something short and simple like that, okay?
I think that I was gonna say, I think it's important when this whole thing started and everything went virtual, all the schools that we have been working with already had done 2 APTT meetings that year. That means that they had the time to work on relationship development. They were connected to the families already. The families knew what to expect. So when the teachers send them invitations or call them and say, we're going to try this virtually and I'm going to show you exactly how. Don't worry if you have never been to a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet meeting or anything like that. I will show you and I'll tell you what to do and everything else. So don't feel uncomfortable. We're still the same team. And in many instances, families were a little awkward at first, and then they just like normal. It wasn't as, impactful as a one-on-one, as a, personal, probably not. But I think that families with time became really comfortable participating, jumping in, talking to other parents, and just it became the best way, given that in person was not an option.
Thank you so much. That helps a great deal. I was wondering if we would have to postpone some of the work because of these barriers, but I especially like to hear that you're recording it, because I know in our complex, many parents indicate that that's the most accessible way for them to participate in family engagement is actually to be able to do it when they are off work and don't have kids running circles around them and things. So that's,
Sure.
thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I have another question that I noticed that was in the chat box from Kayala O'Sullivan. Do you expect the same type of participation from parents that have kids in the upper grades versus the higher engagement you see from parents in lower grades like elementary?
It's really interesting. It all goes back to the way it's messaged by the teachers. By the relationship that the teachers have built with the family. I have seen packed middle school meetings, and I have seen packed high school meetings because it was so unusual. The parents is like, what's going on? They are asking us to come to the school and they never do that. So it must be important, right? And I have seen it done very successfully. So I believe I also seen kindergarten classrooms with 3 parents instead of 17. See what I mean? Because the teacher had not necessarily put in the effort and time to get to know the parent. So that connection is what truly makes the difference in attendance, is what truly allows a teacher to follow up with a parent that might not have been able to make it. So the parent doesn't miss a beat, but instead they're caught up because the teacher is like, I noticed you missed our meeting. I don't want you to miss the activities and everything that you need to do, so that we're all working toward the same end. So again, I think the relationships is what truly dictates the level of engagement and the number of parents. The first time you ever do this, you might have 20% of your parents show up, but the next time it goes to 50, the next time it goes to 75, because they actually do talk to each other. Things get posted and it's like, oh, we miss you. You should have came to this. This was really good. And parents themselves almost advertise if they felt it was valuable to them. Did I answer that question?
Yeah. Yeah, Maria, absolutely. I can't tell you enough. It does go all right back to that relationship, that personal connection you make with the families. We always say you can't build a relationship if you never talk to the person. So that's so important. We reinforce that with our schools and our teachers, the importance of making that connection with families, because what they're used to is that you receive information, right? Parents come to a meeting, they get information and they get materials, but there's never any follow-up, right? Like, are those materials working? Were you able to understand what we were saying? And so that's the difference about APTT, is that we would say you want to follow up to make sure that families understood what they received and how is it helping them or not helping them. And if it's not helping them, what can we do to support them? And so I think, that's really how we have our families attend APTT meetings, and why we have 5th grade classrooms with a full house, and why sometimes we have other grade levels with, fewer attendance. All right, what other questions do we have?
Any other questions? Well, those were the questions that I kind of filtered through the chat box. So thank you, folks. Do we have any other questions here that folks want to go ahead and just mention it right now? In the meantime, I just want to point out that we do have a feedback survey. We'd love to hear from the folks participating today, about this session, as we like to provide sessions similar in the future. And then I also see that Sara placed in a link to learn more about APTT. So again, folks, if you can complete our survey that is posted by Chuan Chin, and then also please do kind of copy and paste the APTT information for you to reference.
I wanted to throw in really quick that in some of our schools, they might not have built into the contract, 3 extra, after school meetings. Many of the teachers, many of the principals look for use Title I funding to fund it, because remember, the meeting is an hour and 15 minutes. It's not a whole day. It's not, a whole afternoon. So it for some is doable with extra pay for teachers. It just depends on how you set it up. And now that we're good, that we have a little bit of extra rescue plan money, it's working directly with families is really truly in the spirit of that funding.
Yes, yes. To plan. All right, folks, any other questions? Oh, I see, Dr. Odell, you have your hand up. Do you have another question?
Sorry, that was from before. I think I didn't.
Oh.
Look. I will now.
Okay.
Pardon me.
Maybe look at other folks to see if they have any, if they have their hands up. I don't see anywhere. Okay. And so if you have any questions, please, feel free to contact our friends from WestEd, APTT. Again, they did put their information into the chat box. And then again, folks, please do fill out that survey as well. Well, I just want to thank our friends from WestEd, APTT for joining us today and sharing all of the wonderful work that they're doing to really empower educators and families to work together in the interest of our children. And so again, thank you again for joining us today on this lovely Wednesday morning or afternoon, if that's your situation. We'll hang out here for a little bit, but until then, we'll see you folks later.